Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Story Time with the Villagers.
Yes, and what is on today?
Today's story time is about a mysterious African man who walked into one of the banks in Dubai. Not just like any other visitor, but he had an unbelievable plan. First, this man was a smooth talker and he was full of mystery, which made him to quickly become a close friend to the bank manager. And that is when out of nowhere, a bombshell dropped. Ask me what is that?
Tell us, what was that?
So this man goes to the bank manager and he approaches the bank manager. He tells him that, you know what, I am a wizard and I can turn any money. I can double any money using genie and black magic. Any money that you give me right now, I can double it. Yes! So this sorceress in quote, the sorcerer in quote, with persuasive charm and enigmatic aura, he did not only win the bank manager's trust, he also turned this bank manager into an accomplice. So the manager becomes captivated. Then he facilitates the transfer of a staggering $242 million. What? But even after that, this African sorcerer still does not end there. He journeys to America, where he begins now to lavishly spend these big sums of money. So when he reaches the US, he buys luxury cars, opulent houses, expensive jewelry, and to add an icing on the cake, he gets accompanied with very beautiful women. So he seemed to be an untouchable man. He was living a life which most of us can just dream of. Yeah. So, however, things take a dramatic turn when his flashy lifestyle and lavishly spending money here and there catches a wrong kind of attention, and soon he is caught up in a messy legal battle with the US authorities.
That was about to happen. Okay, so please tell us, who was this? How did it start and how did it end?
So the year is 1995. This man is called Babani Sissoko from Mali. So Babani Sissoko decides to go to Dubai. Upon his arrival in Dubai in a business visa, Sissoko went straight to Dubai Islamic Bank, one of the largest banks in the city, where he went direct to the main branch. So at the main branch, he insisted that he wanted to see the branch manager, Mohammed Ayub. So the employees were surprised because it was not usual. How can just someone from nowhere come and demand that I want to see the branch manager? We have never seen this person. Yes. And just to go just like that and see the branch manager. So despite this, Sissoko still insisted that I have something important that I want to tell the branch manager. Just allow me to go and see the branch manager, please. So Ayub, the bank manager, inquired from Sissoko, hey, what's up? What is the purpose of the meeting? Why do you want to see me so much like this? So Sissoko requested for a car loan. Yes! But remember, typically in Dubai, there are some certain criteria to be followed before you get a car loan. Because you must have a job, you must have a steady income, in which Sissoko did not have. Especially, he had just arrived in Dubai for the first time. But nevertheless, he somehow convinced Ayub, the bank manager, to grant him a car loan without any collateral, without any security, as a layman can understand. So afterwards, Sissoko thanked Ayub, the bank manager, and invited him that you come to my apartment for dinner. But initially, Ayub, the bank manager, became hesitant and he said, hey, what's up? This guy has just come here for the first time. We have just known each other business-wise for the first time. What's up with him? Why does he want me again to go to his apartment? What's the problem? Yes. But Sissoko insisted that you just accept my dinner invitation. You are my new friend. You never know. We may share more as new friends and you never know the future. So Sissoko even added to him that actually, if you accept my invitation, I can show you something magical, something extraordinary. Something unique from my culture which you have never seen before, assuring Ayub, the bank manager, that he would not regret it if he goes to his apartment.
So what exactly did the bank manager do about that?
First, before I tell you what happened, and before I continue, you should know that what I'm telling you is not fiction, it is not lies, and it is a reality with no any kind of exaggeration. This story has evidence and it is confirmed from American court cases and testimonies from lawyers.
Okay.
So, Ayub, the bank manager, becomes a man full of curiosity. Especially, in 1990s, magic from Africa was something which was believed to be out of this world and worth seeing it live, because people from both Africa and out of Africa were fascinated when they saw African magic, and most people believed in them. So Ayub, the bank manager, finally agrees to the invitation. He says, well, let me go and visit this friend of mine from Africa in his apartment. So Ayub arrives at Sissoko's apartment. So Sissoko welcomes him, and after initial conversations and hospitality, Sissoko leads Ayub, the bank manager, towards a dark room which was filled with smoke. And the room resembled to be something out of this world. You get
Africa.
Yeah. So the room was filled with various objects. There, Sissoko reveals to the bank manager that he was a sorcerer capable of doubling any amount of money using jinn and black magic. Meaning that if Ayub, the bank manager, brought any amount of money, Sissoko claimed that he would return twice the sum. So Ayub, the bank manager, he was there listening attentively and observing the room. Seemingly, he had been drawn by this strange and curious world from Africa. So he says that, okay, let me try this. So Ayub, the bank manager, decides to communicate to a relative back at home. He gives him directions and tells him, bring 100,000 dirhams to a such and such a place. And 100,000 dirhams is like 25,000 US dollars. So when the money arrived, the bank manager handed it to Sissoko, and he told Sissoko, now, Sissoko, here is the money. I want you to double this money. I want it to be 200,000 dirhams. Now, Sissoko got the money, and they both entered into the dark room, which when you look at that dark room, it really resembled the sorcerer's chamber. Yes. You get? So, in the center of the room, Sissoko sat down with the money, while in front of him, the bank manager was there standing, watching the money and waiting for it to double.
And so, did the money suddenly double?
Now, this is what happened. Suddenly, music began playing throughout the apartment. And Sissoko did something to cause smoke to increase significantly. So then, he started chanting in strange tongues, speaking in tongues, shabarabara, 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 while swaying from one side to another. Okay. Then unexpectedly, electricity went off in the whole apartment, plunging everything into darkness. So moments later, a loud noise came from an adjacent room, and the door burst open. Then from that adjacent room, a man ran out screaming that, hey, a jinn has appeared. The jinn is attacking me. A jinn has appeared. Oh, help, help. So the bank manager became bewildered and did not know what to do. He was so scared. So Sissoko laughed and he said, haha, don't worry. Explaining that these are occurrences which are normal and they happen. So he just said that, you know what? It is because the jinns are just uncomfortable with your presence here as a stranger. So Sissoko advised the bank manager that what you should do, you should just leave the apartment for a while as I keep making this money double, because the process is not yet complete. You will come back when the process is complete. So the bank manager now, he had to obey because he was so scared, confused, and he did not know what to do because what he had witnessed forced him to obey. So he went and he waited from outside. But the sounds of music was high, movements inside the apartment, and even thunder and lightning and smoke coming from that house. Everything was confusing there, and the guy was not knowing what to do. So after a while, the commotion inside the apartment reduced. The noises reduced, and the door opened. So Sissoko stood at the door and invited the bank manager back in that, hey, Oga, you can now come. So the manager came back inside the apartment just to find that the whole apartment is filled with smoke. But the first thing that he noticed is that the money was on the table. So Sissoko pointed at this money on the table and he told the manager that here is your money. Your money has doubled. You gave me 100,000 dirhams and now it is 200,000 dirhams. The manager said that, yala, 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 ya Rabbi, alhamdulillah, mashallah. As he approached to the table, he caught the money and it was actually indeed true. The money had doubled to 200,000 dirhams, which was twice the money that he had given to Sissoko. So at this point, the bank manager, Mohammed Ayub, was practically convinced that this act from Sissoko was actually genuine.
Yeah.
But what you should know is that Sissoko was probably having an accomplice. You remember earlier on, I told you there is someone who came out from an adjacent room shouting that, hey, the genie has attacked me, the genie, the genie, help, help. Yeah. So actually, this helped the bank manager to believe that whatever Sissoko was doing was real. So also what you should know is that the money doubling trick was a common scam in the 1990s. Particularly, it was executed by individuals from African nationalities. So by this time, Ayub, the bank manager, had fallen into a trap, genuinely believing that Sissoko was a sorcerer and he could double any amount of money. And this belief made the bank manager now to start transferring substantial amount of money to Sissoko regularly.
So how probably did this transaction even happen?
Now, Mohammed Ayub, the bank manager, opened a special account for Sissoko in that bank and continued to transfer the money into it. So here, the story takes even a more dramatic turn. Because despite even transferring millions of money from the bank's funds to Sissoko, the money never came back doubled. But Ayub kept on transferring the day in, day out, every now and then from the bank's money. So in a period of between 1995 to 1998, the bank manager executed the staggering 183 transfers into Sissoko's accounts. But remember, those transfers were not only happening to Sissoko's accounts in Dubai, but they were also happening in those accounts in various countries around United States, Switzerland, and France. Sissoko also had accounts in those countries. So the total of these transfers reached an astonishingly $242 million. But one of the fundamental questions was that, why will the bank manager continue making these transfers in millions upon millions if Sissoko never doubled any amount as promised, but simply kept on receiving the millions without any apparent reason? Now, there is no clear explanation as to why the bank manager behaved this way. But some speculated that, wait, maybe Sissoko indeed would have been a real sorcerer, not just a con artist. Because he used magic to confuse the bank manager's judgment, compelling him to continue transferring this money. So another theory suggests that it was because of fear. Maybe the bank manager truly believed that Sissoko was a real sorcerer and feared to harm himself or the family if he disobeyed. So a third possibility was that Sissoko might have been having a series of threats towards the bank manager. So when the bank manager first transferred the significant sum of millions of money to Sissoko's account, Sissoko might have refused to return the doubled amount and instead threatened to expose the bank manager if the transfers were not continued. Now, another pressing question is that how could such massive amount of money be able to be withdrawn from the bank over 3 years without anybody noticing or raising an alarm? Even if the bank manager was the highest authority in the bank, there must have been something like accounts, routine audits, and inventory processes. You get?
Yes, I agree. But the pressing question is what people would want to know. How can $242 million go unnoticed for over 3 years? That is a large sum of money.
Yes, but what you should know is that this aspect is probably the most baffling part of the story that people will want to hear. But now it is possible that banking operations during that time was different, whereby accounting systems were less advanced than what we see today. Because this is something which occurred 30 years or more years ago. But this explanation that I'm giving you, it is still weak because regardless of the system in place, the amount was extraordinarily large. So this qualifies that Sissoko actually, he might have been a true sorcerer.
Yes.
Now, here begins the second chapter of the story. Focusing on his luxurious life, Sissoko enjoyed using the bank manager's money, the bank's money, which the manager used to send, as I mentioned earlier in the story. Yes. This started in 1995 after deceiving the bank manager and securing millions, as I mentioned earlier. So, Sissoko decided to leave Dubai and return to his home in Mali. And during this time, still the bank manager continued transferring millions to Sissoko's account. So Sissoko spent several months in his home village. The village was called Dabia in Mali, which, like many other villages in the region, it was impoverished. So in this village, he was showering villagers with gifts and money, initiating various projects with the money that he had found from the bank.
Sissoko. Yeah.
So as a result, Sissoko's generosity transformed the village's economy, and the villagers started seeing him as a father figure and savior. Affectionately calling him Papa Sora, the big one, the boss. So he became the beloved and preferred figure in the community. So after several months in the village, Sissoko decided now it is time to move to the United States, and specifically he went to New York with the bank transfers from Dubai still going on.
So in other words, Sissoko starts a new life in the USA.
Exactly. Now, it is early months of 1996, so Sissoko arrives in New York and opens an account with Citibank. Citibank is one of the largest banks in America at that time. So he visits the main branch in New York, and somehow he convinces one of the female employees to marry him. He goes and tells the female employee at Citibank that, hey, you girl, you look good. I got the money. I'm the G. I'm everything.
I'm the papa.
When you see me, you're seeing money. When you see me, you're seeing everything. You get it? So now, actually, Sissoko was using his wealth to lure her. Now, and despite learning that Sissoko had multiple wives in Africa, Europe, and other parts of America, the woman still agreed. Now, what you should know is that this marriage of Sissoko to a Citibank employee was primarily indirectly facilitating his banking transaction, as he planned to transfer all his funds from Dubai to United States. And indeed, Sissoko successfully transferred over $100 million from his bank account in Dubai to his new Citibank account in the United States. So Sissoko's new wife, an employee at Citibank, is likely to facilitate this transaction, though Sissoko did not necessarily need her assistance. Her involvement, however, smoothened the transactions, but in return, he gifted her $500,000 and continued to spend generously on her. So to substantiate these enormous cash transfers from Dubai, there is a page that documents the case filed by the Dubai Islamic Bank in 1999 against the Citibank in the United States. It is a documented legal case that took place in New York courts between the two banks, and the case detailed that from 1995 to 1998, with the assistance of 3 Citibank employees whose names were listed in the court documents, one of them being Sissoko's wife. And according to the case, they helped a man named as Foutanga Dit Dabani Sissoko in a money laundering operation. And the court records that the documents mentioned that the amount involved was $151 million.
What? Now, let's take the story back to the flowing track.
Okay, now, let us get back to the flow. Now, feeling secure once money reached his account in America, Sissoko now started living a lavish lifestyle in the United States. He began spending extravagantly, purchasing whatever he desired. He even bought planes and established an airline and named it after his village in Africa, Air Dabia and Dabia Airlines. He even bought a private small plane, 2 Boeing 727 each, with a capacity of 180 passengers. He intended to create a fully fledged airline, though he opted to use older planes as new ones were prohibitively expensive, even on him. However, these ambitions and plans did not fully materialize because in most cases, the planes remained grounded at the airport and the airline he dreamt never really took off. Now, this was a characteristic of Sissoko, unfortunately, because he would enthusiastically invest millions in new ideas only to lose interest later. So Sissoko, amidst his grand project ideas and extravagant spending, did not forget his people. That is one good thing about him. He continued supporting the inhabitants of his village. As I told you that his village was Dabia, and his popularity grew, even extending to neighboring areas. So whenever he landed in Mali, his people would gather and welcome him with flowers, embraces, and generously shared with him the wealth.
So this man was now a very wealthy man.
Yes, Sissoko was now a very wealthy man, living a wealthy life in all aspects, gaining popularity and public adoration. However, in July 1996, things took a worst turn. At that time, Sissoko attempted to purchase 2 helicopters that belonged to the US military. These were old decommissioned military helicopters that were dating back to the Vietnam War era. So Sissoko had submitted a purchase request to the US government claiming that he wanted to transform those helicopters into air ambulance so that it can be used to transport the injured. He planned to use them in his village where he had already built hospitals and clinics, and it was going to act as an additional support to offer these medical to these medical facilities you get. So however, the US government frustrated the request with suspicion that Sissoko might use these helicopters for other purposes like drug trafficking, arming them for use for civilian conflicts in Mali, given their military origins you get. So as a result, Sissoko's associate attempted to expedite the process through illegal means. So Sissoko's followers tried to bribe the US official with 30,000 US dollars. So Sissoko did not directly order for this bribe to be done, but rather it was an initiative from his supporters. So unfortunately for them, the officials that they were trying to bribe was a honorable person, and he reported the attempted bribe to the authorities, leading to their arrest. So investigations later revealed that they were actually connected to Sissoko, making him a wanted man in a bribery case. So Sissoko was not in the US at the time, so this prompted international arrest warrant of Sissoko through Interpol. So Sissoko was eventually arrested in Geneva, Switzerland, and he was detained in one of the prisons in Switzerland, awaiting his extradition to the US. Now, he immediately hired American lawyers to defend him with the case, and there is someone called Thomas Spencer was his lead attorney. So Sissoko requested that Spencer, his attorney, meets him in prison in Geneva, Switzerland to discuss the case and subsequent legal procedures. So Spencer, recounting his visit in Geneva, mentioned an unusual interaction with the prison director. So before meeting Sissoko, Spencer met and interacted with the prison director, of course, who badly wanted that Sissoko's extradition to US to be delayed for as long as possible. So Sissoko's attorney became surprised and asked himself, and also asked the prison director that, hey, what interest do you have with this case, and why exactly do you want this guy to be delayed? Why? Yes. I'm not understanding you. So the director answered that no, it is only that Sissoko is arranging exclusive meals to be flown from Paris in France every night, creating a rather enjoyable situation. Don't you want us to enjoy? Let the guy be here at least to enjoy his money. He's treating us well. Don't allow him to go right now. We are still enjoying his money. You get? Yeah. So from that very moment, that's when Sissoko's attorney encountered a rather peculiar situation with the prison director in Geneva. And he realized that now he must be dealing with a unique and bizarre character. So soon after, though, Sissoko was extradited to US to face the charges that is related to bribery case, and the place was in Miami, Florida, where that case took place. That's where the event of the bribery occurred.
Okay. So I believe that by now they have moved to Miami.
Yeah, exactly. We are now in Miami, Florida. Now,
Yes.
Spencer, who is Sisoko's attorney, makes the first move. And the move was to request for a bail hearing, aiming to secure Sisoko's release until the trial. However, the US government and prosecutors strongly opposed any kind of bail, fearing that Sisoko might flee due to the ongoing investigations towards his activities, which they suspected that it might involve more than just a bribery case. Now, despite these concerns, Sisoko rallied significant support for his bail hearing. Remember, processing a fortune like Sisoko's, regardless on how he acquired it, enabled him to forge power and connections with influential people.
Yeah.
So he leveraged his relationship to garner support at the bail hearing, and his lawyers presented numerous diplomats and high-profile individuals from various embassies and positions who testified on his behalf. And what you should note is that even the judge noted in the court records that he has never seen so many diplomats in one courtroom before. So these testimonies portrayed Sisoko as a respected and prominent figure, elevating his lawyer's argument that he was a man of stature in the community and unlikely to flee. So furthermore, his legal team assured the court that Sisoko was prepared to pay any substantial amount of money to guarantee his presence at the trial. Now, the judge, being overpowered by the immense pressure, especially from the prosecutor and the government, who were determined to deny Sisoko bail, decided to set an extraordinarily high bail amount, like $20 million, if at all he wanted to be granted bail, believing that Sisoko was not going to afford to pay that amount, but instead opt for jail.
Yeah.
However, after consulting with his defense team and understanding the situation, Sisoko surprised the court. He said, "Your Honor, I agree to pay the bail." The bail was paid, and once again, Sisoko was free.
So Sisoko is now out of jail. What does he do after?
Now, Sisoko is out of jail. So one of the first things that he did when he was released was to gift his lawyer and the defense team 7 cars. The lawyer and his assistants were astounded because it was their first time ever for a client to give them such extraordinary gifts.
Sure.
Especially considering that Sisoko's trial was still pending, and all that the lawyer had achieved was to get Sisoko out on bail until the trial date. So Sisoko was required to remain in Miami until his trial, but that was not a problem. For him, during this period, he again embarked into his unending spending spree. Even his associates described on how he could enter a jewelry store, purchase jewelry worth $500,000 in a single day. As if that was not enough, even the car dealership employees also reported that Sisoko would buy around 2 to 4 cars every week. And moreover, he married several women, possibly more than 10, just in Miami. He rented several apartments, almost 20, each with a different wife.
What?
Meanwhile, the Dubai Islamic bank manager continues to transfer money to Sisoko. So Sisoko even had a credit card and a number of credit cards from the bank with no spending limit and no debt that existed in those cards. So the question as to why the bank manager was still continuing to transfer the money still remains a mystery, because no one knows. Was he under a spell? Was he threatened? Was he scared? No one knows, because it was an intriguing puzzle.
That is surely a spell. So what happens next?
So while at Miami, awaiting his trial, Sisoko did not forget his normal theatrics, with the aim of improving his public image and gain people's sympathy and support, which he hoped that it will help him out of court. So he would go to the streets of Miami, visit impoverished areas, donate to the poor, homeless, providing them with food, clothing, and in turn, the media documented his acts of kindness to boost his reputation. Now, on one occasion, Sisoko helped the school music band, which was needing funds to travel to New York to participate in a grand Thanksgiving Day parade, where he donated 300,000 US dollars to that, in which it was much more than what the band needed for the trip. And with gratitude, the band performed a special musical piece for him to express their appreciation. So by doing this, Sissoko was just working on improving his image in Miami society, believing that it will ease his upcoming trial in court. Now, it is March 1997, and the trial of the bribery case related to the helicopter aircraft begins. So his lawyers advise him to deny the charges, especially since the recorded conversations showed that Sissoko was instructing his men to expedite the helicopter's acquisition without breaking the US law. But contrary to his lawyer's advice, Sissoko instead confessed to the crime in court, taking full responsibilities of the bribery case. His lawyers were perplexed by his decision. They wondered, they asked, what the hell with that guy? Is he sane? What the hell has he, what has he just done? What the problem with him? Now, his lawyer, Thomas Spencer, was so angry. So when Spencer tried to understand Sissoko's rationale, he asked Sissoko, do you know what you just done? Do you know that you're going to rot in jail? Sissoko refused to explain. So Spencer felt that something was amiss. But years later, it was discovered that Sissoko might have confessed to hold further investigations into his other financial dealings, fearing that maybe more serious problems than just bribery case might arise.
So, was Sissoko sentenced, bailed, or which further action was taken?
Now, Sissoko's sentence was not that severe. He received only 43 days jail term and a fine of 250,000 US dollars. As the bribery case wasn't considered major because it was just $30,000 and it involved 2 out-of-service helicopters, so this was not seen as a highly sensitive matter. Therefore, Sissoko was sent to a federal prison in Florida, which was a regular facility with no particular high security. So after serving nearly a half of his sentence, the government offered him a deal to complete the rest of his sentence under house arrest in exchange with a significant donation to the homeless shelter. So Sissoko agreed and donated 1 million US dollars to the shelter. So consequently, he was released from prison to serve the rest of his sentence under house arrest, or in one of his houses. You know, he had very many houses with wives everywhere. So once Sissoko completed his sentence, he immediately left United States and went to Mali. On his arrival in Mali, he received a grand welcome at the airport as usual. In 1998, bank transfers from Dubai Islamic Bank's director to Sissoko still continued. So Sissoko didn't save the money. Instead, he found ways of spending the money in either failed projects like Dabia Airlines or by distributing it to followers and those around him. So he enjoyed playing the role of the modern day Robin Hood, like the boss, the big boss. So even his lawyer noted while in Miami that during his trial, Sissoko spent around 1 million US dollars monthly in gifts to people who surrounded him and everyone close to him. And this expenditure was bound to increase, and it was much easier to be generous with those people because they were his kin, his lineage, and you know, now it is easy to give money to people that you know than people who are far from where you are. But at the same time, Sissoko constantly requested more transfers from the bank's director in Dubai, who continued to comply. However, it remains unclear as to why these transfers were happening, why he was complying. Nevertheless, such unusual situation was found to come to light eventually.
Okay, so for how long did Sissoko's racket move?
Listen, in March 1998, some of the bank accounts started noticing discrepancies and began asking questions. The bank's director felt the pressure, especially since he had been unable to contact Sissoko for some time. So according to the story, the director decided to confess to a close colleague, but he struggled on how to bring it up because the subject was so ridiculous, and how to explain that he had transferred such a massive amount of money to an African man to another country, because he believed that the man was a sorcerer and he could double the money. And because himself, maybe he was under a spell or not, nobody knows. So this was an unbelievable scenario. So embarrassed, the director couldn't bring it up himself into account on how this transfers to Sissoko, an African sorcerer, happened. But instead, he decided to write it down. The amount was totaling to 890 million dirhams. 890 million dirhams, which was equivalent to 242 million US dollars at that time. So his colleague was understandably shocked, realizing that this could actually mean the end of the bank. So once the news started spreading, panic ensued amongst bank clients, fearing for their deposits. This could have led to a massive bank rundown, crippling the bank with a major financial crisis. So as a result, the Emirati government swiftly intervened upon discovering that the bank was having financial struggles. So the Dubai-owned newspaper, it was called Al Bain, published an article ensuring the public that the situation was under control. So the Emirati government and the central bank guaranteed the safety of all the deposits at the Dubai Islamic Bank. And this was crucial in preventing panic and mass withdrawals. So the article also mentioned that investigations were underway and the Dubai Islamic Bank director Mohammed Ayub, alongside 2 other associates, were detained for embezzling funds ranging to up to over 200 million US dollars.
My God, that is a huge amount. So did the bank clients sue the government or they sued Ayub?
Now, most of the lawsuits were directed towards the bank owners, since that bank was a private institution and it was on the brink of collapse until the government's intervention in exchange of the rescue. And also the significant share of the bank became government owned. Now, the details of the court proceedings against the director and his associates were out. But according to the article, 17 people were sentenced to 3 years in prison, and these defendants were from various nationalities. So they were mostly bank employees, which explains how the large sums of money could be embezzled. So whether these employees benefited from being accomplices in this racket remains unknown. So the article also confirms that the total amount embezzled involving the director Mohammed Ayub was around 890 million dirhams, which was equivalent to 242 million US dollars at that time. So as for Sissoko, he was among the 17 sentenced, receiving verdict in absentia while he still remained in Mali. So all the defendants were handed 3 years sentence. Now, in 1999, Dubai Islamic Bank files a lawsuit against the Citibank of USA, accusing Citibank of accepting large transactions without proper procedure. So the bank demanded compensation of 151 million US dollars. But it appears that Citibank ended up not paying these damages. So lawyers who were appointed by Dubai Islamic Bank in the US investigated the transfers to determine where the money went, you get?
Yeah.
So they concluded that Mohammed Ayub, the director of Dubai Islamic Bank, and his associates did not benefit anyway financially in this transfer of funds. Instead, all this money went to Sissoko's pocket mysteriously. So this situation brings us back to the question, why was the bank director still transferring this money? It is still unknown.
I think it's unjust. And what happened to Sissoko in Mali?
As for Sissoko, Interpol, the international police organization, issued an arrest warrant to his name, meaning that he was likely to be arrested if he traveled anywhere around the world. Nevertheless, he remained in Mali. And remember, Mali has no any extradition treaties with any other country. And to further protect himself, Sissoko became a diplomat. He ran for parliament in 2002 and won the elections due to his popularity and became a member of Malian parliament and therefore acquiring diplomatic immunity. And he believed that this would protect him even if he traveled abroad. However, over the years, Sissoko's fortunes dwindled, and due to his excessive spending, and which led to a significant decrease in his popularity. Yeah. So he lost eventually the 2014 elections in the parliamentary seat, and his diplomatic immunity as well was lost. So Sissoko then returned to his small remote village in Dabia, and he lived there for the rest of his life. Now, in 2018, a BBC reporter managed to reach Dabia, and she finds Sissoko's house and convinced him to participate in an interview. The only interview that Sissoko ever gave. But unfortunately, Sissoko's interview wasn't very enlightening and failed to answer intriguing questions that was placed against Sissoko. So during the interview, he did not speak much and he didn't give clear details about the whole ordeal. So the takeaway in this interview was Sissoko admitting that he once possessed a vast fortune, claiming that at one point he had a capital of 400 billion US dollars. However, he had embezzled only 242 million US dollars from the bank. That is the one which is known. So where did the additional millions come from? So here are two possibilities. It is either Sissoko exaggerated his wealth, or he was involved in other unknown scams. So many doubt as to whether this Dubai Islamic Bank scam was his only operational scam. So when asked about the current whereabouts of the money, Sissoko simply said that he had spent it all. So when the interviewer questioned him about the Dubai Islamic Bank case, he avoided the topic, almost denying it, saying that his only interaction with the bank is when he went there for a car loan. So regarding the 242 million US dollars and the use of magic, he laughed it off, denying everything. And he said that if he was a wizard, he wouldn't need to rob a bank. You get? Yeah. So he suggested that the bank should explain on how such a huge amount of money disappeared from their accounts. So the interviewer, being in the house of Sissoko, and the Sissoko people were there, she didn't press him more further, or she didn't ask more about the significant transfers documented in Citibank in America. She didn't also ask about the bank employee that he married. She didn't even ask about his extravagant spending in Miami or any other question that could have been asked. Yes. Yeah, but in the interview though, Sissoko made a revealing statement about his character, saying that one can never have enough money. Today you spend 10 million, tomorrow you want 20 million. The next day, 40 million. You cannot get satisfied with the money.
However, so Sissoko remained untouched just like that?
Technically, yes. Sissoko remained free and untouchable, living in his small village of Dabia. Yes! And eventually, in 2021, Sissoko died probably of COVID-19. Oh, and sorry. That was the end of Sissoko. Kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel for more detailed information like this. You can only find this kind of information here. Thank you for subscribing. See you next time for the next story time. Bye-bye.